G'day, champ. Welcome back to Erico Blueberry. It's an unassuming Destiny podcast. I don't know what that was. My name is chillybin.
It's Daddy's little PogChamp Meckii.
Well, soon to be champ. You and I,
Yeah.
we put in some work this week towards the champ title. It's the final week of the season. It's the final week of Guardian Games. It is cram season. If you're anything like me, who has one or two titles they're trying to finish off before the season changes, it's going to be a busy few days playing games with my friends, and that's what we're here to talk about. It's what we do. What's been happening? We played a bunch last night when we would usually record. It's a Thursday night. You, myself, Alex went in, started out with some sweaty gambit, and I mean sweaty. I think we got through 6 games.
I think we won 4 of the 6 too.
Oh, at least. We were full on menace mode, just 3 stacking in there. Shout out to whoever ended up on our team, just tagging along for the ride. I was on my usual bullshit of like, the restrictions are off. I'm not trying to complete triumphs anymore. I've got my gilded dredging. I'm just blowing up rooms with solar abilities and throwing hammers and being a bit of a scumbag
bing,
on
bing, bonk.
a bit of a scumbag on invading or invaders with the trusty friend Xenophage. And then we just ran the what is this week's Guardian Games strike? It's Devil's Lair. I always forget the name of it. And that was actually like weirdly fun to run that about 4 or 5 times back to back because it's not in the current Nightfall rotation. It's actually been a while since I've done it. I always forget how long it is, and then you hit that outside section with the spider tank. And I'm like, oh, this is actually, we're not even halfway yet.
Yeah.
It was good. Just getting medals, dunking him, clearing triumphs, getting close to champ status. I'm on my last triumph now, and it's the like platinum depositing medals triumph. I think I'm at like 92%. So I can get that tonight, I think.
The funny thing is I'm 3 away, but somehow I managed to do all the gilded triumphs before I did the non-gilding triumphs. So I feel like I'm gonna hop champ and gilded champ like pretty much back to back.
Yeah, pop champ.
Like I accidentally did with Ghost Rider, where I did all of the gilded ones. So I popped Ghost Rider, and then it gilded immediately after, and people in the server were like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And it's just the way I did things.
Yeah,
I've done it again.
It's the way those event titles work, is that you can earn all of them at once, so you can gild it the first time you get it, which I think is weird, but it's kind of fun.
But I mean, for something they give you 3 weeks to do, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. It's quick, it's easy.
Yeah, you've gone in here like a savage. I'm curious to see when we get to the next one, which will be, what's after Guardian Games? Solstice?
Halloween.
No. Is it? 3 months from now?
June, July, August, September, October.
Yeah. June, July, August.
It'll be Lost. Festival of the Lost, right?
So when we get around to that, that'll be the like second time coming into it after it has a title. So I wonder if it will be like the other ones where it's like you can guild this now and there's like 4 to 6 things you have to do, or if it's more than that because of the way that they let you guild it the first time around. Who knows?
It'll be interesting to see.
Not me. I've still got, this is the last week I get to run this bit of gear. This week I've opted for, straight out of Japan, a double grapefruit 9% strong 0. So we'll see how I go. I finished work like, let's see, I was working from home. I finished at like 4:30 in the afternoon. I had one of the a different flavor strong 0. Played a bunch of Devil's Lair again. I was just like running that to get more contender cards and shit done. So I've had a pretty good afternoon.
Yeah. I'm running on 2 Monster Energy drinks, 2 hours of sleep, and pure spite.
That's like default, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stayed up till midnight last night and then ended up staying until 3 a.m. accidentally, and then was like, I guess I'll go to sleep now, and then up at 5:30.
Oh, oh, okay. Just made me feel sorry for you. I'm not sure.
Homies in different time zones, man.
We're in the same
It'll
time
catch
zone
up
right
with
now.
you.
We're lined up.
Oh, I jumped
Other
offline and
people.
started hanging out with other people.
Yep, you do have other friends. That's fair. Speaking of Guardian games, we're going to do like a midweek 3 catch up here in terms of like title and Taraxipos counts.
Lost Disturber.
Yeah, we'll check in next week after the event's wrapped up because no doubt we'll earn more. I'm only collecting the title and I'm currently sitting at 30.
I am
I'm
collecting the
worried.
title and Taraxipos Horse Disturber. And oddly enough, I've dropped more of the Horse Disturber. So
I have definitely dismantled a shitload of those.
47 Horse Disturbers. And 30 titles.
Okay.
So
we're about on par, I feel like.
Yeah, if my suspicions are correct, just based purely off those numbers, it looks like Taraxipos is dropping more.
Yeah, which is fun. Like it seems like a neat scout rifle. Excuse me. I've dropped so many of those because like when you do the gold and platinum chests for the like weekly challenge part of Guardian games, I think like you end up with 3 or 4 like masterworked ones, which when you dismantle gives you a bunch of enhancement cores or whatever. And this week I've had to like repeatedly pull armor out of my vault, masterwork it just to put like ascendant shards and enhancement prisms somewhere because I was full and they were going into the postmaster. I was like, I need to get these before I lose them. This event has been very good for like stocking up those resources. I think I've got like 1,000 something enhancement cores now. It's very silly.
Me just being a natural resource hoarder though. I hit the point where stuff goes to the postmaster. I'm like, well, guess it's gone forever.
No, put it in the vault.
I'm capped out on everything.
How full is your vault though?
Almost full. I've got to clean it out again.
You have 1 character. What are you doing?
Hoarding.
Holy shit.
I live a minimalist lifestyle IRL. Destiny on the other end.
Yeah, you gotta channel,
maximalist.
Yeah, you gotta channel that side of yourself somewhere, right?
I own 10 outfits IRL in Destiny. I own 7 of the same cloak.
Fuck.
I need all those hero camo boots.
I don't think that you do.
I do.
What are you going to do with them? You've only got 2 feet.
1 pair wears out.
That's not how this game works.
Put the other pair on.
This is not Zelda. There's no weapon durability here.
Like IRL, if I really like a pair of shoes when they go on sale, I buy another pair of the same shoes and I keep them in the box in my cupboard so that when the first pair of shoes break.
To be fair, I have done that with various forms of like sports shoes I've had to buy over the years. It's like if I find one that is like, yeah, this fits me well and it like does what I need it to do, I will immediately go and buy another pair just so that I can kind of rotate them and not like have one wear out and not have a pair that I can wear.
Mine is more, I buy limited shoes. As you know, I really like ugly shoes.
Yeah. Confirmed.
And then if they're not sold out and they go on sale, I'll then buy another pair because I'm worried if my favorite pair break, I won't have a replacement pair.
Yeah.
So like my favorite pair of Palladium boots that I wore last time I came and visited you guys in Melbourne, the big chunky, I think I wore them when you guys were up here too.
Yeah.
The big chunky Palladium boots. They went on sale like 4 or 5 weeks ago for $80. And I was like, I'll have 2, please.
Yeah.
because I could get 2 for the price of 1. And I was like, now I have 3 pairs. So if the first pair breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's part of me that wants to do that with like, so my favorite preferred brand of shoe is this brand Vivo Barefoot. They're like barefoot minimalist shoes, but they actually look like decent shoes. They're not like weirdo foot freak kind of, you look like you think too much about feet shoes. They're like, no, these could just be boots or sneakers.
Shoes.
None of that. It's like, these look like regular shoes. They just happen to be like a flat base and a wide toe box. It's a whole thing. I'll set up a different podcast for talking about those.
Dogcast, where we talk about feet.
The thing I keep finding is like they'll bring out stuff in Australia, and once it's gone, it's gone. Like they don't have just like standard shoes that they keep making. It's like every 3 months they kind of rotate their models, and there was this one pair that were like straight up the comfiest shits I've ever worn, and I wish I'd bought a whole fucking grip of them, but I just didn't. And then the ones I had wore out. You cannot get them anymore. The problem is they're like minimum $250 a pair. Yeah. So like the idea of buying more than one of them at once is crazy to me.
I do the same thing also, actually. I just realized with like band t-shirts, because a lot of the bands I follow now are leaning more towards streetwear than here's a t-shirt with our name across it in big letters and a picture of the band. It's more like referential band shirts, so they'll reference something.
I want some shit that looks like the cover of a D&D book, but it is a band shirt.
Yeah. So like with bands like Lorna Shore, where their stuff leans more streetwear, but they also make really sick designs. Sometimes I'll get 2 of the same shirt because I'm like, if I ruin this shirt or the shirt falls apart, I want to have, because this shirt is sick and I love it so much and I know I'm going to wear the shit out of it. I'm going to wear it a lot until it falls apart. So I do the same thing.
Yeah. That's none of that's about Destiny. Some of it was Palladium boots. Where are we up to? Guardian Games finishes this week.
Hoarding the title.
Hoarding, yes. So yes, also ending this week is this season, and then shortly after that, we're getting Season of the Deep. We've had some more information.
9-second teaser of Sloane saying, "Hey, come to my ocean."
Yeah. Also, I don't remember how like forward this was when Sloane was still in the game, but she refers to herself as Deputy Commander Sloane, which is interesting given the passing of Lance Reddick. I don't know where we are in terms of like content that was planned prior to him passing, if this is like anything that they might have had recorded recently to be like maybe Sloane is coming into the fold eventually.
Roll it over to make the transition away from Zavala smoother.
The promo art had Sloane with like a taken arm, like from here down.
Strong hand.
Yeah.
Take a strong hand.
Yeah. So it would be weird to have someone in that position who is, I don't know, maybe partially possessed by the Taken, or I don't know what's happening there. We'll find out in a week.
I mean, when you think about it, the Awoken kind of already are. They're linked to.
Well, theirs is different in that, like, as a race, they kind of exist in the midpoint between the light and the dark. It's not that they've been taken, which is very much what that looks like on Sloane.
You get to see more of the arm in that trailer a little bit too, even though it's 9 seconds.
Very small amount. I wonder if we get something a little lengthier in the next few days. I think usually each season will have like a minute long kind of preamble, but then that's usually what plays when you boot the game up when the season launches.
Yeah, I feel, if I'm remembering correctly, words are hard. Usually we'll get a trailer around the time that servers go down for update.
Yeah.
Like usually within the 48 hours before reset, they drop a trailer.
48 hours, yes. The downtime is usually
minimal,
less than a day.
But you know what I mean? Like it's usually like within 48 hours of the actual reset.
Yeah. Maybe we do. And maybe we don't.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe
It
this
might
is
just be
it.
like surprise.
Yeah.
Anything stand out to you in the 9-second teaser? Did you
Not
catch
really.
anything?
Not really. Other than the
Same.
deputy commander comment.
My only comment was, don't like the big stinky doing the swimming. I don't like the shots of that big scary thing swimming past.
Oh yeah, no, we are definitely going to be underwater. I saw there was an image either in a twab recently or one of the devs posted to Twitter or something, but it looked like a cave that was underwater.
Yeah, under the sea.
Yeah, maybe I should go and play Subnautica before reset just to like acclimatize myself with the concept of being underwater and being okay.
Oh my lord, imagine if I can't play this season because of my crippling phobia of the ocean.
Yeah.
I would find myself in tears regularly playing BioShock. Like actual panic.
Yeah, but like in BioShock, I don't remember them ever like presenting you with the risk of you ending up in the ocean. It's just that it's right there outside the glass.
Yeah, but I know I'm in the ocean.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's leaks. And sometimes you have to walk through big glass tubes and you see things swimming around.
Yes.
Triggering.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how emotionally I react to Season of the Deep.
We're just like for the next like what 3 months when the season's running, it's just a solo podcast. It's just me sitting here going like, water's wet, spooky shit's happening.
The other screen is just me in the fetal position in the back corner of my room.
The Yamcha death pose in a hole somewhere.
Hey Meckii, what did you think of this week's mission? It's just me screaming.
Just subtitle, constant screaming.
It's an ominous hum and me just disassociating.
Just mildly vibrating for the entire length of the episode.
My life becomes an Ari Aster movie because of this fucking season. Just that hereditary wee 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 wee.
Oh no, I haven't watched that movie in a while, but that did something to the hair on the back of my neck. Oh, just thinking about that.
Everyone's out here on TikTok and social media making videos about them romanticizing their lives in a Wes Anderson fashion. Me's Ari Aster.
You better not be making a Wes Anderson film about going in to see the horrors of the deep.
Triggered by my favorite game going in the ocean.
Then you should just like, I don't know, tweet a video of you throwing a box copy of Destiny into the ocean. Be like, fine, you have it. I don't want this.
Or have you seen that TikTok video of that guy? At the risk of sounding racist, an Indian man, and he's got a filter on of him under the ocean, and all he says is, "Help! I am under the water."
No, I've not seen this.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah, please do
that. But yeah, oh man, I'm so excited to see where they take this because, like, we've got Sloane back, and we're going back
maybe?
to Titan.
Are we?
Yeah, maybe.
Because a lot of the promo art is like this 9-second teaser was like, maybe we're flying into Titan, maybe that's a location we're loading into, or maybe it's like that's where the like battleground playlist is taking place.
Yeah, but then we're also dealing with a whole new environment and scape, which is interesting too. What they do with that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think in terms of like...
Do we have to put the big boots on so we don't float?
No, put on the real heavy boots so we fucking stay down there.
That's what I mean, the big boots.
No, the concrete cement shoes.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like in the last year of Destiny content. So Witch Queen and the seasons that followed that. Did any of those seasons actually introduce a new location that we would load into? I don't think so, right?
Not really. Other than like Neomuna, but like I mean, no, like
that's like a full expansion level.
Yeah, it's just the general actual like scope of the new environment that we're loading into.
Yeah,
because it's like, new planet, but it's modern. This one's Mars. This one is a throne world. It's just different and interesting to be like, oh, underwater.
Yeah, I just think typically their seasons don't get the level of investment required in terms of development, like to
Yeah,
actually introduce a new patrol zone that we would load into. I think it's more likely that the missions and the seasonal like
it's going to be the
activity
watery.
will be loading into Titan and doing stuff there, but not like loading in and just doing patrols and shit, because that
Yeah,
is usually a
we'll
lot more
see.
work.
We'll see.
Hmm. We'll see in less than a week.
Yes, we'll see. Spelled SEA.
Good, good joke. There's plenty of changes coming.
Yes.
The smallest one, and I only mention this to brag a little bit. I finally hit pinnacle cap, and that means next season, because they're not changing the power cap,
You're good to
I don't
go.
have to do homework. I can just get in there and do the things I want to do, and
Amazing.
that's actually a huge relief. Like I was like sitting on needing one more pinnacle drop for about 3 or 4 weeks, and that I hate that part of the season because there's no way to fix that problem. You are at the mercy of a random drop, and it's a random drop after having invested about an hour's worth of effort, and then you're just like, well, guess I'll go do another one and hope that that works. It's yeah, that is probably my least favorite part of the power grind. I don't mind having to like push another 10 up or 50 when a new expansion comes out, but the idea that there's no way to like streamline that last part kills me.
It's always the worst too when you've got like 4 pinnacles to pop and you've got one slot
Yeah,
that you need and you
and
don't
none of
get
them
it. It's
hit.
like, oh
Oh,
wow, I guess I'll go fuck myself then.
yeah,
Bye. Fuck
yeah,
you, Raoul.
yeah. I'd love to see some form of bad luck protection around that. The same way they do with like raid exotic drop rates and things like that. Of like, hey,
Yeah, that'd be
you've now
nice.
dropped like 8 pinnacles and you haven't hit the last thing you need. We're just going to give it to you. So it's the thing I think about. I remember reading a blog post from the Diablo 3 development team where they said something to the effect of like, when the game drops you a legendary item, it notifies you in a few different ways, and it's like this kind of exciting moment that they want players to experience. So they said like, at a minimum, you will drop one of these per hour of gameplay. And then if you're doing like higher level difficulty stuff, you have a greater chance to drop them.
I like that.
Yeah, and so that they were thinking about like, you know, once you get at max level in Diablo, it's like you want to be dropping more legendaries, get better stats, and you know, fine tune that build. And that's kind of the closest thing I can think of for pinnacles is like you're at end game in terms of leveling. You are just trying to like round out your entire setup. It'd be nice to see that get solved in some way, whether that's like, yeah, bad luck protection on pinnacle drops, or as a lot of people would speculate about, them removing power level entirely from the game.
Yeah, I guess the power level stuff is going to remove the need for RNG on pinnacle drops anyway, so.
Well, yeah, like as a thought experiment, if you took a numbered power level, like character power level, out of the game, you wouldn't need to like do any of this grinding except for things like leveling up your artifact to get access to the mods, season pass stuff, you know, the stuff where you are getting rewards other than being able to play the game content, because that's what we're doing at the moment, is we're just gating content off you getting a number to a certain point. Whereas if you look at the way campaign and strikes have selectable difficulty levels, you don't need to put a number on that, really. It's just the fact that we had a number system before, and we're trying to match them up to like, oh, master means this, legend means this, grandmaster means this. But if the numbers weren't there, it would be the same. It would feel the same.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where we're heading. A lot of people try to tell me that it's definitely happening. I'm like, you have no way of knowing. I am starting to see threads that could lead to that happening, but it could also just be them going, oh, we're going to give you a break from the pinnacle grind for this season as a way of testing some theories, but it's not a guarantee of anything.
Yeah. It's like, look, I can see where you get that from and where you're picking that up from.
Yeah.
But like whole chesting it off that information is kind of like, you don't need to whole chest it, homie.
And a lot of it too is
change
like,
is not your personality. You don't need to commit. Like
a lot of that stuff tends to come from like, oh, I read this leak, and it's like, why would you trust that? That is unreliable information. Do not go and like forward that information, because then it just spreads and a bunch of people start believing it, and then when it doesn't happen
and blame Bungie.
Yeah, when it doesn't happen because it was never going to happen, someone just made it up and spread a rumor, essentially. Then the devs go silent and they cut off lines of communication because you're being shitty to them. Just let them experiment if they're gonna or not. You don't work on the game, so shut up.
You're not being paid.
If you're that invested with where you think Bungie should take the direction of Destiny, the video game, go and fucking work there.
Write a proposal.
Yeah, and it's this is a whole different rant I could kick off on, but I choose not to, because that is not what we do here on this show. We try not to. Sometimes we allude to little shithead behaviors, but maybe that's I don't know, Erico Blueberry After Dark is me just going off on people who know nothing about software development but think they do.
Erico Blueberry mask off.
Erico Badberry. But yes, also coming next season, there's a whole bunch of like weapon, ability, exotic updates. Those have all been explained in great detail in previous posts on Bungie's like news section or twabs. We're not going to go through those because I think we've gone through the interesting stuff to us in previous episodes, and also it's kind of boring to just like dig into the numbers on that stuff.
The only thing to add is there's videos about those new strand aspects and how they work now too, which is interesting.
They do look very cool. We saw the Wanderer.
The Wanderer.
The Titan one does look fun because it's similar to the... So when Solar 3.0 happened, they introduced a new melee option, which is like the throw the flame up and you jump up in the air and then you kind of like come crashing down with two hammers. It's kind of like that, but with Strand. But while you're in the air, you can do like repeated waves of this energy to suspend shit, and it looks very good.
It looks very fun.
I think I might make a Strand build next season. There's some goofy stuff to be played with, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm gonna be even more unhinged with my Warlock.
Also, next season looks like it's going to be the season of fucking Arc Titans again. This week's Twab had the listing of like all the seasonal mods. There's a whole bunch of shit around Arc in there. Plus, they are boosting things like the Eternal Warrior, which, as shitty as it looks, I think I'm going to make a build around that. Just become a stone man.
Stare at that fucking face anytime we hang out. Amazing.
It like in terms of the ornaments, it's basically the default like blue stone look, or this weird like almost like it's made out of jade. I don't know about the ornament, the jade ornament looking thing, but the default like blue stone version, when you apply a shader to it, only about half of the parts of that helmet actually take a shader. The rest of it stays that same color. It sucks.
Great.
So that might be the first time I actually intentionally create a look that looks like shit. Just to be like, I'm using this because it's functional, not because it looks
harass
good.
Me. Visually harass me.
That's it. I'm going to test out everybody's... this is going to be my like, do you think you're colorblind? Come and tell me what color my build is. Maybe that's on my brain because I did an eye test this week. But yes, It's gonna be interesting. This not I don't know. The seasonal mods, I find myself, at least this season, not using many of them. Because usually most of what I use them for is things like champ mods. But nowadays, what I'm doing is running Lingering Dread, which stasis grenade launcher. It's got disorienting grenades and chill clip. So stasis. So what that means is I can stun overloads with it with a direct hit. I can stun unstoppable champs by hitting it twice with it. So body hit, reload, body hit, freezes it, and the shatter, when you hit it out of the freeze, stuns an unstoppable. And the way that I'm getting around anti-barrier is landing a solar throwing, like the throwing hammer, the charged melee, because I'm using the solar fragment Ember of Torches, which basically says if you land a powered melee hit, you become radiant, and that causes all your weapons to do anti-barrier damage, unless they already have some anti-barrier property. So what I'm doing is just using that grenade launcher to stun basically everything, and then if there is an anti-barrier champ, I will throw a hammer at it, which usually does enough damage to push it into popping its bubble out. Then I shoot it with a grenade launcher or xenophage, and then I hit it again until it's dead. So I'm not actually interacting with any of the seasonal champ mods at this point in time.
That's the fiery version of my my void build, which I was using in Gambit the other night and the Nightfalls, where it's like, oops, everything is volatile. Oops, my gnawing hunger also volatile. Oops, I'm popping things.
Yeah, so
oh no, those things are popping other things.
I think
oops, my grenade is back already.
Part of that might be coming from one of the seasonal mods, because there's one that when you pick up an orb of power, your void weapons gain volatile rounds.
I don't know if I've got any.
There's also a ton of stuff in void builds that just work that way. So it could not be. But yeah, like I looked at that list of seasonal mods for next season, and there wasn't anything that jumped out at me as, oh, this is going to do a ton of damage, like your breach and clears, or your that season of the fusion rifle where everything was stupid. I didn't see anything that kind of jumped out like that. All I saw was a ton of arc options. So I think I'm going to do some scuffed shit there. Speaking of champ mods, I'm using any platform I have to talk about the way that this works. When you become Radiant, one of the weapon archetypes that can gain anti-barrier properties as a result of being Radiant is a rocket launcher. One of my favorite things to do now is to do that with Gjallarhorn on an anti-barrier champ, because what will happen, I say anti-barrier champ, a barrier champion, if you shoot Gjallarhorn at the barrier champion while you're Radiant, the initial hit will do enough damage to make it put its shield out. And by the time that happens, the Wolfpack rounds are closing in and hitting it, doing the anti-barrier stun, and then you just run in and punch it, and it's dead. So it's basically just a one-hit kill on barrier champs, and it's very silly. The idea that Gjallarhorn is anti-barrier should never happen.
Yeah.
But Radiant is just so good with Ember of Torches. I think it's it. Yeah. No, actually, sorry. Ember of Torches is the way that you get Radiant through powered melee, but you can get Radiant a number of different ways. If you're a hunter, you just dodge. There's a dodge that'll let you do that. It's so good.
Yeah, when you told me that, and then I saw it in motion running stuff with you, I was like, that's nuts. Like,
yeah, but also if someone in your
kind
team,
of unhinged.
If someone in your team is running Gjallarhorn, you could be running a non-exotic rocket launcher and get the same effect. It's just that there's enough time between the initial hit and the Wolfpack rounds hitting for the bubble to come up and then get hit. And there's the other thing about Ember of Torches, the way that I'm doing it with my Titan, is that when I become Radiant, allies near me get Radiant. So if I'm doing that and running Galahorn and others are running rocket launchers, like we're all just able to do that at the same time, and it's
True.
yeah, yeah,
Shit. Yeah, I only just.
yeah.
Yeah, the dots only just
Yeah, yeah,
connected in
yeah.
my head
I
then.
explained this to someone in person the other day, and their eyes lit up because they're like, I never would have thought of that. And I was just like, yeah, I was just goofing around, honestly. I was like, what was I doing? I think I was running Partition, and they had like
Yeah.
Overload and Barrier Champs. And I was just like, I want to speed this up. I want the boss fight to go quickly. I'm going to use Galahorn. And then I just started going, oh, yeah, it has anti barrier. I wonder. And then, oh yeah, this fully works. It's so sick.
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh man.
now, ooh,
Yeah. I don't
you
play
know,
with solar enough to.
you know what I
I've just got my firework build, and
you know what
that's
I
it.
literally just thought of?
Oh no.
Anarchy.
Oh no.
I don't know. I don't know what that would look like, but
We can go test it.
just trap a barrier champ in a triangle like we're doing a seance or something. Summoning ritual.
There's 3 barrier champs or something in the Nightfall this week, so
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to file that away in the back of my brain until later. I'm definitely going to try that. That's cooked.
just slide into your DMs without context and just in all caps right now type anarchy.
Oh, that could mean anything.
Exactly. So you'll go back in an hour and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. There was a post this week about some upcoming exotic weapon changes coming next season. So we had the exotic armor changes last week. This week it's weapon changes. The only one that I can kind of remember is with regards to Graviton Lance. Basically what they're doing is evening out how much damage each of the 2 rounds in that burst do. Because currently it's like a pretty weak first shot and all the power is in that second one in the 2-round burst. But they're kind of closing that gap by bringing the first one up. First one up, second one down in terms of damage numbers. I confuse myself with my gestures. So it means that like if you land the first shot but miss the second, there's less of a downside.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking to see if I could find it, but no, it's exotic armor, not exotic weapons. Yeah. I thought this week's TWAB would loop back to it like the others, but it doesn't look like it.
But
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a few things in there. Nothing really too crazy, except maybe Eyes of Tomorrow, which basically gives it subsistence. So the way it's shaking now is like if you shoot Eyes of Tomorrow and I think kill 4 or more enemies, it refunds around.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, which is just silly. Just silly.
Yeah, with the way that those projectiles work.
Yeah. The only place I've actually seen Eyes of Tomorrow in recent memory is people invading with it in Gambit, but that would make it more of a viable PvE option, I think.
Yeah.
Also, what happens if you use Eyes of... No, it's exotic. I was thinking Eyes of Tomorrow plus Wolfpack rounds, but it's non-exotic rocket launchers that get that.
True, yeah.
That would be too much.
That'd be pretty scuffed, yeah.
Just... Where do we stop spawning these things?
16 fucking Seeker bullets.
Yeah, the only other thing that I kind of took note of out of that entire thing was right at the end. I'm gonna just read this quote. In the more distant future, we're working on an update to Sparrows that will allow players to use their favorites instead of Always on Time, without touching Always on Time itself. So I've got a few thoughts about what that could be. Either they are buffing every other Sparrow to work like Always on Time, or some form of like Sparrow transmog. I feel like the first one is more likely because just boosting all the stats is probably better or easier to achieve than building a transmog system for Sparrows.
Or base Sparrow and then all the other Sparrows are ornaments.
Yeah, something like that, right? But I feel like the easiest thing not knowing anything about how Destiny is built, but I feel like the easiest thing for them to achieve would probably be just to bring up the stats, right? Because the thing about always on time is just like its base speed is higher.
Yeah.
So you could just apply that to everything. Then the difference becomes, because then it's like, well, why would you bother trying to get always on time, right? Because it's expensive because you have to get it through Spoils of Conquest. The difference then becomes, well, the only remaining difference is that always on time has more boost charges before, like in its tank essentially. I think every other Sparrow is like 3, whereas always on time is 6. It's something like that. Which is handy if you're like me and you actually utilize the side boosting to like dodge shit as you're going. Because I will basically always be boosting on always on time, and then if something is ahead of me, rather than like try to make a turn or slow down, I'll just side boost and kind of just keep going straight. And that to me feels like there's still a reason to try to get always on time. Whereas if you just make everything function the same way as always on time does, why would you bother?
Maybe that's it. Like it's all the same speed, but then future exotic sparrows are all going to have their own little perk on top of that.
I mean,
or their own little difference to make them worth thinking about before you jump into something.
The only exotic sparrow I can remember being like having some other function is like the dawning one, because it spits shit out the back that is valuable. Like they haven't done anything with exotic sparrows other than make them look really interesting.
Yeah. Maybe that's another thing.
Yeah, but the fact that they specifically say we're not touching always on time is kind of what leads me to think
they're bringing everything up to
they're just
AOT's
kind of
level.
Raising that floor so that people can use it without use a non always on time sparrow without accepting a speed penalty.
Oh, you mean I can use my ring ting tingle dong bing bong bingle bong boo sparrow
oh my god,
all year round?
We can go back to the micro mini. Smallest hitbox on a sparrow. Let's go.
Oh, that thing. Titans on that thing is especially hilarious.
It's my favorite. Or the spider. We could use that year round.
Oh, the crab?
Yeah.
Well, my third favorite is the rat one. I love me a good rat sparrow.
And that's the thing, like the amount of times where I'm like, I've done a transmog, I've done some shaders, and then I'm like, always on time kind of doesn't always fit with the look I'm going for, which is so far down the list of priorities, but it'd be nice to kind of tie those together.
Yeah.
Just like, I want to be on a micro mini as a Titan at all times. My big giant boy, shoulder pads.
Big boy, little bike, big boy.
Is there something amusing to you about my automobile?
Exactly.
I want to be that guy. Always.
Bodybuilder on a trike. Let's go.
Exactly. So that is actually like, it's unreasonably exciting to me.
It's very interesting, yeah.
But the fact that this is in the more distant future, like how far are we talking? Please don't let it be the next expansion. Please let it be like a season after this one.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
Can we have? We've been so good. Can we have, please?
Yes.
Papa, I've behaved so well.
Yeah. There was another kind of interesting bit in the TWAB this week talking about their update processes. So there's been a bit of talk about, the amount of downtime Destiny's had recently that has been unscheduled or unexpected. They kind of went into why some of that is, which basically boils down to there's like a window of a few days before the weekly reset where they will put the changes out for a patch or an update in kind of a sort of test mode. It's like it's on the servers, but it's not live, as a way to like kind of preload it so that they don't have to do as much downtime when weekly reset happens. And that's kind of, from what they're saying, been the cause of a bunch of unexpected issues, because they're doing a bunch of updates in the background on their tools and systems, and it's meant that stuff gets out of sync or whatever the case may be. So instead, they're moving next season to kind of a window of planned downtime so that they can do all of that activity at once, and it becomes even though it might be a more extended period of downtime per reset, it means that it's more reliable and predictable and less likely to cause outages for hours on end, which is, good. It might not be where they want to be long term, but it's at least a way for them to try to assess that problem without the game being offline for days. So that's interesting to see them be quite open about that and talk about what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, they've always been super transparent. Oops.
Yeah. It's all well and good to be transparent, but when it's happening nearly every week, you kind of have to do something. It's been a lot of the talk that I see online is this game's super broken. It's well, no, actually, what's happening is they're updating a lot of their libraries and code kind of stuff that they're using in the background, and you will never see that. But
so
of course, they're aware of it and they're trying to deal with it.
I only have Twitter notifications on for Destiny 2 and Bungie Help. And I think today I had 16. In the last 24 hours, I've had 16 notifications, and a lot of them were from Bungie Help.
Right.
A lot of hey, we've identified that this is happening a lot for some players. Hey, here's how to fix it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going down for at least 30 minutes, And I was just geez.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that happens a lot during the American peak. So a lot of that stuff conveniently for us happens during work hours, but it's peak game time for the Americans, and I can see
I think
why the American Twitter base is getting a bit vocal about it.
Yeah, I think it was last week. I was having breakfast, looking at Twitter, and seeing Bungie tweeting basically the game is going to be offline for the next few hours while we figure this shit out. And I was cool, by the time I'm done with work, it'll be fine. And it was. But of course, the majority of their player base is in the US in that time zone while they're dealing with it. And so, that is frustrating. That is disappointing. But this is them saying, hey, we're aware of the pain you're feeling. Here is some of the cause for that. Here's what we're doing about it. You can take it or leave it. You can choose to leave and stop playing the game because you're too fed up. Fair enough. Go off, King. Or you can just accept that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about and see what happens next season as they try this different way of rolling this stuff out. They're also changing some of the language that they use when they talk about patches versus updates and hot fixes, and just trying to get consistency on the terms that they use so that when they're tweeting about stuff, people kind of know what to expect. And that's all explained in the Twab. I didn't copy that stuff down because it's interesting to me because I work in software development, and getting terms like that correct is really important. But how you explain it to people who don't know how software is built is a very difficult problem. So yeah, go and read the Twab because that is them attempting to do that. If you have questions, get in the comments and I'll do my best to try and explain it to you in layman's terms. That is part of my job as well.
I think at this point we both work in software.
Yeah.
Systems and IT, basically.
Yeah. And the hardest parts of my job are always conversations with people who don't know the ins and outs of the technical aspects of what I and people like me do.
Jargon.
Yeah, but it's also they need to know the effects of it. They need to know the symptoms, the outcomes, whatever it is, but they don't need to know necessarily what I'm doing to fix a problem because it doesn't matter, right? They just need to know that it's fixed and they can go tell someone that it's fixed. And that's kind of what they're doing with this Twab is here's what's going on. There's some detail in there that is a bit more technical that if you know what those terms mean, you can kind of go, oh yeah, I get it. But yeah, shout out to Bungie for continuing to be transparent, even though everybody wants to be a shithead about them and tell them what to do.
Yeah. It's always
Sick.
appreciated in this house.
Yes,
Transparency is important in this
we
house.
love honesty here at Erico Blueberry, which I'm fairly certain from memory when I was naming this show and I looked it up. Erico Blueberry is just like generic networking error number 10. Like they have a whole stack of their error codes that are just, I don't know, networking issues. Some of them are specific things, but I don't think Blueberry is one of those. It's just like, oh, network's weird. Internet pipes weren't connected, something like that.
Haircode Blueberry, aka skills
Yeah.
issue. Sounds like a skills
Yo,
issue.
your Wi-Fi's got a skill issue, homie. Your Wi-Fi's got Joy-Con drift.
No. Once again, a very niche inside reference.
No, everyone knows what Joy-Con drift is. Nintendo basically got sued over it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's still happening.
Yeah.
Pew, pew.
What else is going on this week?
Enemy elemental shields are changing slightly. More so just an accessibility thing.
Yeah. I've seen that kind of. I've seen some back and forth about that on Twitter of like some people saying that like actually the changes aren't that accessible, or like have you consulted with this group of people that have like various visual impairments or whatever. So there might be some, I don't know. I don't want to say controversy, but just like pushback on some of that stuff.
Yeah, so there's videos of it just to explain it, but
Because it's basically going from like
kind of
the cylindrical shield,
the cylinder with the grill, which has a definable edge and a definable shape to it, to almost like a cloud, a miasma, if you will.
Yeah,
just a ominous cloud. And I do understand how for people who experience different types of blindness, that could very much blur into the background for them.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, and this is coming from someone who, yes, is fairly blind. But I don't have specific types of blindness. But just trying to think about it and listen to what they're saying and empathize with them and then kind of relay it back to my level of blindness. I'm like, I can see how for a lot of people who are vision impaired, yeah, that could be an issue.
Yeah, because is next season, are they bringing in some of those like color blindness and accessibility settings that they've talked about?
So next season's getting maybe. I think it's more just it's no longer a definable edge or a definable structure. It's a cloud. And even in the still at the thumbnail of the preview, they've got a minotaur with it around them, and then behind them is rubble. And the edges of that, even with my level of like short side, like I'm blind, but I'm not like vision impaired, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even for me, the edges on that are pretty undiscernible further down.
They also spoke about like the way those shields are represented, like presenting some technical challenges. And part of this is also them trying to like basically make that a system that's easier to work with so that they can make more improvements in the future. Because
they do talk about internal changes a lot in the TWAB.
Because like one of the like new shield image, it's kind of like an oval around an enemy, and like that kind of looks like the effect that's applied to a guardian when they have that arc. What is it? When you're not boosted, but like when it's like amped. When you're amped, right? When you're amplified.
Yeah.
Like it is kind of like there is a sort of that oval kind of shield around your hitbox, around your character model rather, and it looks kind of like that. But yeah, like if you don't have that clear definition of an edge of the shield and the color compared to what's behind it, there's definitely going to be issues there. But I wonder too if like some combination of the new accessibility and colorblind settings that are coming in plus this is workable. I haven't seen much. Like I didn't go looking for kind of responses from Bungie about this stuff or anything, but
yeah.
I also wonder if like even if it does come in a little rough for some people, if the changes that they're making with this new shield system means that they can more easily adapt it to those use cases.
Yeah, I feel like part of it as well is like Bungie are entitled to a little bit of benefit of the doubt because they have in the past done something and went, well, that didn't fucking work. We're sorry.
Yeah.
Fixed it.
Yeah.
Like we've reverted it for now until we figure out something more accessible.
Yeah.
Like they're not afraid to be like, hey, so we are trying our best to be accessible. Accessibility in video games is still a very new concept.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying our best. We're listening to your feedback. We understand that we made a change that fucked it up for a lot of people. We've reverted it and we're going to continue to talk to the community and try better to fix this issue and make it more accessible without eliminating an entire part of the player base.
Yeah, and I think too, like that's part of the point of showing this stuff now is that here's a video of what it will look like. They get that
people
feedback.
Can voice their concerns.
Yeah, they get that feedback now. And like, yes, there's only a week until those changes will come into effect, but they can start to earlier. Maybe it's not as early as they possibly could have done this, but earlier than just releasing it and seeing what happens. They can start to like build those changes in so that we're talking, maybe it's a couple of weeks into the season. They're like, cool, here's a shield update that is more friendly to various forms of visual impairment, right?
Yeah.
And again, like if you look at the history of Destiny's development, initially, we're talking like the first, I don't know, few years of Destiny 2, and even going back to Destiny 1, this was a huge problem, but like their build tools and their pipelines for like building versions of the game and deploying it and whatever were so fucking terrible as a developer experience that everything took way longer than it needed to. And this is kind of what they do is they when it gets bad enough, they will invest time in making the tools better or the actual foundation of parts of the way the game works better so that they can more quickly adapt when they realize that they need to. And this I think is one of those times because they talk about the way that they represent shields and the way that they represent specifically immunity shields, the like classic white bubble with where immune pops up, like that one is apparently very hard for them to deal with, so they're not touching it right now. And that to me, again, with that software engineering background, speaks to the underlying code and systems that they've built are not good enough and need work, and that is kind of what they're doing here. So it might not come in fully formed. They might be solving for the 80% of the bell curve, and the remaining 20%, unfortunately, don't get rolled in with it in the first version. Mm-hmm. But we'll see when the season drops. We'll see how it actually lands for those people. We'll see that feedback that they get, because I mean it's been fairly public feedback even in the last few days that I've seen. So chances are we'll continue to see that.
Yeah, they are listening.
Yeah,
more than most companies, to be honest. They are listening, which is good. What else? Stuff about stabilizing, which is interesting.
Yeah, as I was talking about with the kind of the release process and updates and downtime windows, things like that.
Guardian Games update.
Titans are winning.
Titans are first place. Hunters are second.
I don't think I think Titans have it in the bag at this point. Because I looked at the wall next to where you dump the medals, and like 10 out of the 20 are Titans, and the other days have been split between Hunters and Warlocks. So I literally don't think it's possible.
Yeah, you guys have got it this year.
Not that I actually give a shit.
Which is fun.
But it's the classic, like, I think the first Guardian Games, Titans blew it out of the water, and then the next time round it was Warlocks, I think, because they were just like, yo, fuck that. Or maybe it was Hunters, and then Warlocks were like, ha ha ha, we're in the background just doing shit. I don't know. There's some comedy to all of that.
I was talking with someone about it today because he's a hunter and it's his first Guardian Games ever. And I kind of had to try and explain the history of Guardian Games to him because he's like, I could see like the rankings in the past and who won each week. And I was like, what you'll notice is the first time Titans won. The second time warlocks blew everyone out of the water. And then from there, it just looks like the warlocks were like, fucking,
Yeah.
who cares?
That's what it is. Like they went hard just to show that they could, and then they're like, no, we don't need this.
Just what are the warlocks doing? And we're just like, spooky shit.
Yeah. Continue to do so.
Yeah. It's just really funny to just see the warlocks just half-ass it and be like, you two have fun.
No, it's like the kid who like sprints off the start at the cross country and then gets gassed. But what they say is like, yeah, I could have beat you all. Look at how fast I ran.
Warlocks are the kids who turned up to the cross country day just so they didn't have to do classes. That's us.
Very good.
We're just there for the day of school.
Yeah. Mood.
Yeah. The flip side of that is the competition IRL to raise money.
This is what the Guardian Games Cup, I think it's called, right?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of streamers and things like that.
Yeah.
I have not been paying attention to any of that shit.
I have.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
I have their streams running in the background. Like, if someone pops up who I know is competing, I'll open their stream up while I'm doing stuff, try and passively watch. Throw them up on the iPad while I'm cooking, hanging out with the dog. At the moment, first place is, in all capitals, developers. And they have raised $43,987.
That's
and 11
look, great amount of money, even better team name.
Yeah.
That is
second place.
Well, that's a deep cut.
Second place, Lost City Guardians, 7,335. Third place, Meta Galactic, not Mega Galactic, Meta Galactic Boomers.
Ooh, okay.
5,864. And then fourth place is Clan Archive with 5,271. Top four teams for points scored. A team called just Popcorn.
Right.
With 71,000 points. Second place is Ursidae.
Some of these names need work, gang.
Yeah. Ursidae. 47,000.
Like fucking Eshe language. What are we doing?
Let me find out. Are you about to be accidentally racist? Oh. It's the Latin word for bear.
Oh.
It's bears.
Okay.
47,000. Third place, Travelers Chosen, 26,000. And then fourth place is just a bunch of people called Prayer. Like prayer. 26,000.
Travelers Chosen, that's just the name of a gun.
That's just the warlocks.
No, that's literally an exotic sidearm. That's a gun. I want to go in there as bad juju.
Never mind. Only I can make that joke.
Fuck.
Continuing on the charity and awareness trend. Asians at Bungie.
Yeah.
May is Asian American and Native Hawaiian / Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
That's a hell of an acronym.
People will probably see it on Twitter as AAHNPIC.
Yep.
Yeah, so pretty big. And they're using it this year to introduce Asians at Bungie. So it's in response so basically the May becoming that History and Awareness Month is in general response to, during the pandemic, the heightened rates of discrimination and violence against Asians.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, racists can't tell the difference, so it didn't matter what kind of Asian you were. So a lot of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders also found themselves the victims of violence and discrimination.
Yeah, just a lot of shitty people trying to look for someone to blame for a global pandemic.
Also, in general, Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders face a lot of discrimination and violence just due to stereotypes. Thanks, America.
Sick.
Anyway, so the goal is to uplift their AA and HPI employees through their diversity committees, which involves a really beautiful pin, which I'm
It
very
almost
much
looks like it's got some 3D effects happening on it. It's got
considering
like clouds on
getting.
the side. It's very cool.
It's so cool. It lends really heavily into a lot of Asian art style and design. But then in the back of it, it feels very much they do lean into Pacifica and Hawaiian tropicality as well, which is like it's like almost like a topographical map of the ocean.
Yeah, and I mean,
and it's that beautiful blue. It's so pretty.
Like as someone who has bought a bunch of the bungee pins, I can tell you they've been trying some different shit with them. Like this one, which is the one for Spire of the Watcher. I don't know if it's going to actually capture on the camera, but like around the edge here, it's like it's almost like this glittery bronze material. I'm going to fucking try and do this hand trick. But you can see like it kind of glitters around the edge there, but it's like it looks like this dark gold kind of colored material in there. Yeah, they've been doing some wild stuff in there. It's not just a big chunk of metal anymore. It's like they've got some different techniques they're weaving into these things.
This is like a clear. Most of these styles of pins are made with like an epoxy. So it looks like it's a clear epoxy over a layered metal base.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Just the shade of blue offset by the white and the yellow. It's so pretty. They've done nice. So well. If you purchase that, it comes with an accompanying emblem.
Yeah.
Which is also very nice. It's blue and it's got the beautiful little flower and the topography.
They do very well with those pairings.
Very pretty. And the proceeds from the Stand With Asian pins will go towards the International Community of Health Services, which in the US is a not-for-profit based in Seattle, where Bungie is, which actually helps people from all backgrounds that need care. It was formed in 1973 by young Asian American activists to disrupt the systemic racism and denied health to Asian immigrant communities. If you know anything about the US post World War II, surprise, they didn't like Asians. And even to this day, they say that it is still deeply rooted in Asian Pacific and Islander communities. And continues to serve immigrant and refugee patients in over 70 different languages.
Wow.
So that's a lot of fun. Consider it if you can.
Yeah, I'm going to go look at that pen. I'm going to look at it a bunch and then I'm going to go, I want that pen. And then I'm going to give them money. And that's the loop.
Yeah. I wanted to make the Queer Pride pin my first pin because it's very close to my heart. But then also, if you know anything about me, Asian and Pacific Islander and Hawaiians, the history and everything like that is also very, very close to my heart. So maybe I'll do that last.
Yeah. It's a
big pin after. Big bisexual.
Yeah. Yeah, or you can do what I did and go to the -18 store and buy some shit off them.
I already have without getting too deep, where I am the communication channel between -18 and my workplace to Idaho Hobbit and queer prom and everything. Because me, a lot of minorities will be opposed and people have they, them, you know, not they, them, they have their own badges.
Yeah.
At the desks. Much to the chagrin of some people.
Yeah.
I was very, very forceful.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because what? Ida Hobbit was...
International Day.
No, but I mean, what I was trying to say is... Was it today or it was
day
sometime this
yesterday.
Week? Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, someone at work did a bit of a presentation on that today. More just a general sort of talk about things in that kind of realm. And then someone in Slack was just like, let's start a donation thread to -18. And then like a bunch of people were like reacting to that to be like, yeah, I did it. And then I was like, hey, I bought some stuff off their store because I don't have enough shit to like kind of project that allyship outwardly. But also they let you, when you're checking out, just like put a donation in the cart as well, up to the value of your order or something like that. So did that. It's a little bit of feel good stuff.
Yeah. And then stuff like what Bungie does is just a good way for you to be a nerd, but then also say, hey, I'm also a safe nerd to be around.
Yeah, and that was like, I forget when exactly it was, but pick generic time when being a trans person on the internet was difficult. There was like this,
all the time.
Yeah, but like there was a particular time that I'm referring to where like there was this concerted effort for everybody to put on the like trans pride emblem in game as like a show of allyship, to be like, hey, if we are just running Vanguard strikes and we matchmake together, I'm kind of a safe person. Like if you want to, send a message in the in-game chat or whatever, or just not, and just know that I'm not going to send you a shitty message. Like sometimes that's more powerful than people realize.
I'm starting to see the Bungie Pride badge here and there, where I live. Well, more the major city
Like
where I
the
live.
big chunky pin.
The big one
Yeah.
on lapels on jackets or even backpacks or even
I
on
have it
it's huge
on the band. Yeah,
or
it's
even
like
on
this,
lanyards.
It's huge, it's heavy.
Like I think in the last 4 or 5 months I've seen 5.
Yeah.
And one of them happened to be at a live show I was recently at.
Oh, don't wear that to a live show. Leave that at home. You might lose it.
They had it on like the side of their bag, which I think they checked in or they weren't in the pit.
Right. Got you.
But I just like I pointed at it and then pointed at my Bungie lanyard, and I was just like, this is a safe person to be around.
Yeah.
And I love those moments where you're like, I know what game that is, but then also I know you're safe within that community.
Yeah.
And I know there are people in that community that are here for the homies, real ones.
Yes.
And that's what I love about these pins. Not only are they beautiful, but it's a really subtle way to say, hey, I know what that game is. Also, I know you're a safe person to be around if I'm Asian or if I'm trans or if I'm black or if I'm queer. Like, love it.
And by way of further anecdote for my other cis allies out there, there was one time I was in like a work meeting and like, not this drink bottle, but one like it, I had a sticker on it that was like the X-Men logo, but it was like a rainbow flag kind of version of that. And I was just talking to someone who was like openly, outwardly gay, and I just like took a drink, and he saw that sticker on the video call and was just like messaged me after. He's like, hey, that's actually super sick that you do that and just have that little symbol out there for people to notice that it matters to. So sometimes that's all it takes. You don't have to like do some giant gesture or like read a bunch of shit. If you want to be an ally, just do little things like that as a starting point. And then eventually you can, learn more about the world and do better, do more.
Yeah, I've got I think I sent it to you before I bought it, but I've got a shirt that looks like just your average band / alternative shirt. And it says protect trans kids. And like I've worn that a few times, and like going in and out of the city and being in a kind of conservative state. But you see other people, they look at your shirt and they give you like that. Like, I see you.
Yeah.
And I wear it at work too, and just
yes, it's
I love initiatives to get a message out there.
Yeah. And it's with stuff like that, I'm of the belief that it's always good to meet people where they are, right? Like an in-game emblem, that's pretty low friction to be like, hey, put this on. You can get it by buying a pin, or with some of them, they've just given it out to the community with a code. And it's like, hey, just put this shit on. It takes you no effort, and it does like an outsized, like a disproportionate amount of good is done by doing that little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way for minorities to know that they have a bastion, especially at the moment with everything going on in the world. It's a nice way to let them know that, I'm a safe harbor.
Yes.
Like, Yeah.
Because like going into a game like Destiny as an anonymous person behind a gamer tag or whatever, right? Like there's still some risk to that. And just being able to go like, okay, I'm this anonymous person, so are you, but you're showing me this little bit of information that like you're not a shithead, or you're not a shithead in this specific way. You might be a shithead in different ways.
Yeah.
Maybe in fun ways, like us. Yes.
Yeah.
Terrorize
We're here
your
for the
friends.
homies.
Yes, we will terrorize them with good-natured fun times. Mostly cum jokes.
But if they are genuinely shitty people, I will actually terrorize them.
Yeah. Or just excommunicado.
We're your new friends now.
Oh, I thought I had a burp coming.
Forget your shitty friend circle. We're your friend circle now.
I am your dad. So is Meckii. We are all your dad.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
Damn it. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've thought of that.
That was about it for the twab.
I think so. I think that's about it for this week.
Other than me screenshotting where they say, what did I do? I thought I was hilarious. This week at Bungie, and then the caption says under the methane sea, and then I screen capped it and sent it to you and said, haha, fart ocean.
I mean,
yeah.
We don't know what those Leviathan are doing under there. They might just be ripping ass.
Big toots.
Big toots, big bubbles.
Toots.
That's what all the like the big waves are about. It's just a lot of bubbles, a lot of fart action.
Take me to the surface. Yeah.
I'm gonna get inside this bubble. Oh, it smells like shit in here.
Big toots. Deep sea tootin'.
I don't like it.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's been an emotionally charged week.
Yes, and on that note, let's charge out of here and get back to cleaning up these titles we need to finish. Yeah, that's been another one of these. If you liked it, push the buttons, send us some words. There's a whole like interface below this video for doing so. You've used YouTube before, I assume. It's not a new thing. If you're on the audio only version, that is less interactive. Maybe just go and find the YouTube video, which is linked in the audio notes. Leave a comment there and say, wow, you guys look like this. Unsubscribe. Back to audio for me.
The fuck is that thing in the blue background?
Dulcet tones only. I want to listen but not see. That's your choice. That's why we produce it both ways. Because we don't know what you like. But hopefully you like the show.
It reminds me of one of my favorite podcasts where their outro, which is like, he says something like, and if you fucking hate our faces, you can listen to us on Spotify.
That is good. Yeah, if you don't like what I'm doing with my hands most of the time, you don't have to see that. It doesn't affect the audio version of the show, except when I just forget which words I'm trying to say.
Man, you listen to the audio, you're missing out on the squarest chin in the game, baby.
It's hidden behind that microphone. No one's seeing that. Mine is a fucking shotgun microphone that's out of the shot, so I've got all of this to play with. All of this visual space is my playground.
Excellent.
Cool. We'll be back next week with a new season. Season of the Deep. Season of the wet ass Guardian Usi. I can do better than that, I feel like.
Wag.
I'm getting nothing. Like
the Guardians are getting deep and wet next season.
That's it. I'm getting deep inside this Guardian Boosie. Let's get out of here. Just rocking back and forth like I'm having a medical episode.
Yes,
Bye.
Please. Time to go. I just learnt that KFC mashies are back. See yous.